What's up, everyone, and welcome back to Star Wars Explained. Today is part two of an interview that we started a couple weeks ago with Lamar Giles, the author of Sanctuary, the Bad Batch novel, which by the time this comes out, the book will have been released. People will have had time to read it. So today we are going to be talking full spoilers. This is your spoiler warning if you haven't finished the book yet, because we're going to really dive into it. But Lamar, thank you for joining us again.
Thank you for having me back, Alex.
So, yeah, let's just dig straight into some of the characters that are introduced. I want to start with Ponder, the clone. What is it like to create a new, significant clone character that still feels so unique and important, despite, being a carbon copy of every other clone trooper?
It's daunting because it feels like a big deal to create characters in Star Wars. I had the opportunity to do it with several characters in this book, and I've told you before, I'm an anxious person, so I felt a great deal of anxiety like creating this new character. But what made me feel good is I felt like I got to explore the idea of like an injured veteran who's trying to build a life after fighting, um, who's sort of just tired of the politics of it and has this really kind of unique situation where he potentially could have that vastly different life after fighting with a person who understands it from the other side. And it I hope it comes across as a loving family relationship in the midst of absolute chaos, which I think is also a core tenet of the Bad Batch. So, like I said, I hope the readers enjoy Ponder. I really enjoyed writing them.
I thought Ponder was great. The second you introduced this character that had a mask on, I was like, okay, there's something. I'm always suspicious of a masked character, and I think there's got to be a reason we're gonna recognize them. And I was not really expecting, oh, it's a full-on clone. Of course, we would recognize that face, but I loved that it was able to wrap in something the Bad Batch as a series did so well is it focused on these characters, but it was also about the fate of all clones after the Clone Wars. So the fact that you're able to touch on that and bring that theme in from the series, I was like, this it just feels like a perfect extension of the series.
Thank you, thank you. I love the show so much. When I had these opportunities, like I kind of pinch myself, and I've been. It's been a dream, honestly. It's just really been a dream come true. Wonderful team to work with. Um, Absolute blast.
Well, you have definitively answered a question that I have seen pop up over and over again, which I have to tell you that I am personally grateful that I can now say, like, there is an answer to this. Can clones have children? Yes. Like, we have that answer now. So, how did that story beat develop for the book?
Well, it was a personal thing that I didn't know if the team would allow it because as I'm pitching all this, like I said in the last interview, I didn't have the job yet, so I'm pitching a bunch of stuff in this story that I'm like, in my mind, I'm like already preparing for. They're not going to let this happen. Not going to let this happen. But this particular beat came from the fact that I was a new father at the time the opportunity came around. I think my daughter may have been a year and a half old at that point. Um, and so I had all these feelings and things to say about having a child in a chaotic world because my daughter was born at the height of COVID, and we had and that was its own level of oppressive feelings in that we didn't know how the disease was really spreading, what it could do to mothers and infants, and so that's the sort of stress that I felt I could inject into Ponder and Sohai's relationship if the team was on board with it, and turns out they were.
It's definitely something that is floated around. I know back in the Legends days, it was confirmed that clones could have children, although it was rare. I think there was one canon story that suggested someone was the grandchild of a clone, but it was so nice to just be like, okay, awesome. The answer is yes. It also just for me, there's something about like I have to sit down and figure out what my formula for a great Star Wars story is for me. But like just getting a new little bit of lore within a book is something that I'm like, yeah, check that box, awesome.
I'm glad I could provide an answer there.
I want to talk about the villains because I really liked both of the main villains in Sanctuary. Crane's relationship with Sohai was almost kind of like a dark and warped version of Hunter and Omega, or at least that's how I saw it. Was that how you saw it as well? Is that a conscious decision?
Well, it makes me very happy that you said that because that's exactly what I was going for. I was trying to have like these mirrors of alternate versions of what our preferred family could be, right? So like Crane and Sohai are like the dark mirror versions of Hunter and Omega, and then Sohai and Ponder are sort of like a really great potential version of Tech and Feet.
Oh,
So I was trying to show what could have been and what could be if we were to like look at like a multiverse version of the characters we know. And I'm glad it came across that way.
it absolutely did, but you just kind of like broke my heart even more about So High and Ponder that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, the whole reveal of Crane saying So High is my daughter, but then you find out not really, and he's trained her and all, like just the same way that the Bad Batch has trained Omega, but he has trained her to be just the worst version of a spy, and it was then the worst version of parenting. I thought that came across very well.
I mean, and bonus here, which I don't know that I necessarily layered this in as specifically as I'm about to tell you, but like if Sohai's one version of nurture that's sort of dark, Celia Moulton is the extreme version of dark nurturing. So I mean, I'm not comparing that to Hunter and Omega, but I did like the idea of like this is where people can go if they, but they got to have it in them too because you think about Omega. I think even if she had had a mentor like Crane, she would have eventually made a turn the way Sohai did,
Mhm.
which is to the good. So just throwing that out there.
Well, yeah, thank you for bringing up Celia because I wanted to talk about her as well. She has this view of power that's all about like money and connections, thinking that she's untouchable to the point of being godlike. And she name drops the Emperor multiple times. And I'm curious, what do you think is the reality of her friendship with Sheev? Is it actually as close as she thinks it is?
No, it is not. Like, to to Palpatine, Celia is essentially like your favorite barber. She 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 provides a service that he likes and that she builds nice things. So there's been times when he's utilized her to build some nice things. And that is the extent of it. But she's the type where if she's ever been at a party with a celebrity, she's going to tell you that celebrity is her best friend. And please don't let her have their phone number because that's a whole
Uh,
other that's a whole other thing. But no, he has no relationship with her beyond her service, and he does not react well when he finds out she's been dropping his name like she has.
And now we can talk about the end of her story involving Darth Vader, which is something that I kept on saying in the Bad Batch. I was like, I don't want Vader to pop up and kind of steal the spotlight at the end of the series. And so seeing him pop up in this, and not only that, but getting chills knowing who it was. I don't think you even, yeah, you don't say his name because Celia never learns his name.
Yeah,
But
it's mentioned one. I cheated a little bit. It's mentioned at the very end of the scene, but that's sort of like almost a new omniscient narrator comes in to just let us to confirm.
or
Which
yeah,
we
Celia Moten never learned Darth Vader's name.
yeah, yeah.
I think it's the
Uh,
line.
so I'll tell you how that came about because the spoiler section we can talk about everything, right?
Yeah, yeah.
All right. So this is the truth of it. When I was pitching the story originally, I pitched Sohai as a surviving Jedi.
Oh,
And that was one of the things that the team was like, we can't do it. And the reason they said it was like, if she's a Jedi, it may overshadow the team because of the nature of the way stories go once you involve Jedi. And so the shift was, well, that makes sense. I mean, and for the story to work, she could be a spy. The story still works. But I was like, well, I'm also adding several new characters, and I'm asking the reader a lot to hang in with them. I'll do my best to make it interesting, but could I? And I would say very nicely, like, could I please use Darth Vader for one scene? And in my mind, I'm like, they're definitely going to say no, and I have all these arguments to try to counter that no. I'm like, it'll close a loop. I have but they immediately like, no, that makes sense. Let's do it. So that's how that particular thing came about.
I thought it was fantastic. Like, I guess I in the show didn't want Vader to come in and the Bad Batch have to fight him, but the fact that it happens, yeah, off to the side, it's all about Celia and her overreaching.
And I didn't want that either because, and correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like there was a trailer at one point that at least showed Vader, or for season three, and I was like, I don't know if I'm like I may be imagining that now, and so I assumed at some point he was going to pop up. And the thing in my mind that wouldn't work is like he cannot be in combat with Clone Force 99 because who really beats Vader in fights, you know?
Right.
And so, but I was like, but this is a way to bring him in, I'm maintaining the mandate of not contradicting anything.
I don't know that he was in a trailer, but I know that Vader is at the very end of the Clone Wars, and so it was always kind of in the back of my mind that I'm like, all right, well, they have this updated animated model. He might pop up in the Bad Batch, but yeah, I thought it was just something. I thought it was smart to keep him away from the series, but then I also thought it worked so well in this book. So
Thank you.
that's what I was just so surprised that I got to that point and I was like pumping my fist when I was like, I thought I didn't want this, but it's great.
I mean, I think what helped and what I tried to build is like Celia's so horrible that that's right. It feels right. I mean, unfortunately for the other people on the ship,
Yeah,
particularly the crew. But it felt like this. She's been running her mouth the whole book about how friendly she is with the Emperor. Let's see how friendly let's see how that friendship actually goes.
I really liked her relationship with Crane as well. The way they bounced off of one another, it made me think of Andor, which I've always thought that Bad Batch and Andor have had very strong thematic connections. They're just
Yes.
told in different ways, but seeing the two of them kind of try to like out fear each other, and it just reminded me of an Andor that you start with like this corporate cop who then has to face the Imperial Security Bureau, and above them is Krennic, and above him is Tarkin, and there's always a bigger fish. And so Vader coming in to be the ultimate bigger fish was super fun.
And with Celia and Crane, I always liked the idea of exploring the power brokers because in my mind they're scarier than the warriors because the warriors are typically placed in those situations by power brokers. And so this idea that people can sit around drinking glasses of brandy and deciding the fates for thousands, millions, or trillions, that's a frightening prospect for me that I love to play with.
Yeah, that came through as well. It was just both of the villains I thought were super interesting. Um, Speaking of villains, you also found a way to work Crosshair into the story, although he's more of a, I wouldn't classify him as a villain by the end of the Bad Batch, but how did that come about? Because I was really thrilled that there was like this dream sequence that got all members of the Bad Batch into the story.
So I'm a Bad Batch fan first, and so like I can't turn my camera so you can see it, but there's a shelf over my office door where I have the Hot Toys figures. I have Hunter, Wrecker, Tech, and Crosshair side by side, and so in my mind I'm like I got I have the first three. I got to figure out a way to work Crosshair in because in my weird math I can't have my figures up there and not have Crosshair accounted for in a book I got to write. So it became more of a situation of like I'm determined to write something for Crosshair. And if I set it up in the beginning that Hunter has these dreams, then I'm able to do it when he's unconscious. So it's more like a wish fulfillment thing.
Mhm.
And the team was on board with it. They're like, we see what you're doing here. It's okay.
Was there any thought about trying to include Echo because he's
Yeah,
yeah, there's no way to really do that without contradicting what
yeah.
had been established, but
The best I could do was just mention where he was. And like,
yeah.
and maybe there was a way that I just couldn't figure out. But trying to maintain the whole can't contradict before and after. The best I could come up with Echo was like I can at least just mention where he is in the timeline, and who knows? Maybe there's an opportunity to revisit these characters. I'm putting it out there for any of the team members that are listening. I'd love to maybe get an opportunity to do more with the rest of the characters that really couldn't be expanded upon here.
I mean, I would throw out that I think that's an opportunity worth exploring. We have quite a bit of time set in between the end of the Bad Batch and the epilogue of that series. So
Yeah, yeah.
there's plenty of other adventures, and knowing that there's clone kids. There are I so high and ponder they might still be there for a while. Who knows? There's plenty of directions to go.
And I mean, I had such fun working on this stuff that I would, I'm available. I put it out there for anyone who's listening and gonna make decisions. I'm available.
I like that. Yeah, just
Yeah,
throw it out there.
yeah.
I wanted to talk about the last planet that we see in the book. Is it Trith or Trith?
Trite. I call it trite. I don't know how the audiobook may pronounce it differently, but I mean the inspiration for that name is just a place that I grew up. I live in Virginia, and I grew up in a city called Hopewell, and there's two cities around it, and so it's called the Tri-City area. And so I wanted to kind of just name a planet in honor of where I grew up, because my town Hopewell is a factory town. So that's why that particular planet has the sort of industry it has. That's sort of what I grew up around.
That's great.
Mhm.
And yeah, that is kind of my question because it's a very cool concept. It's covered in mercury, which I don't recall any other Star Wars planet having that be like its major biome. But yeah, what's the process for developing a new world in Star Wars?
Well, it was surprisingly easy in regard to the team being on board with it, because you have to keep in mind this is the first time I've done something big for Star Wars, so I'm already thinking like I'm they're gonna have to tell me no because of all these reasons I don't know and understand. I'll just try to make the best case I can. And they were like surprisingly easy with like, hey, that sounds like a good idea. It'll be good because again, we've told you not to contradict anything. So if you make up a planet here or there, then we know that's not going to clash with anything that's coming in season three that you may not know about yet. And certainly nothing that came before. And so it was really like a gentle process of we just need to make sure we understand how the planet looks, how the environment works. Don't have to get too heavy with it. We don't want to just bog everybody down with exposition. It just had to make sense. And so that's another reason, kind of basing it on where I grew up, added a little bit of verisimilitude.
So you're talking about working with the team, and when we were doing our non-spoilery section, you kind of teased something where Lucasfilm asked you to pull back a little bit, and it was a funny story. So I'll give you a chance to tell that now.
All right, so it's the scene, and I'm even going to be careful how I say this. I just don't know how much I can say about the specifics. But it's the scene where we first get introduced to Crane on Canto Bite, and he's sitting in the office of the casino manager. So the first version of that scene, because the species of that casino manager, when I was reading up on them, they kind of use sulfur dust as a way, as like an intoxicant. So
Mhm.
it's like sulfur is like helps them party. And so I basically had a scene like a crime movie where he's almost like a crime boss coming in and he's doing a bump of this sulfur dust off the left of his hand. And note was like, hey, did this guy just use
Did they do what I think he just did?
like we may need to dial that back. I mean, I was like, got it. No, no, no Tony Montana in Star Wars universe.
I mean, there's spice, there's death sticks, there's stuff out there that we know about in Star Wars.
It really felt like Scarface in the '80s. So I was like, I understand.
Just got a pile of sulfur on the desk.
Face buried in it.
Well, those are all of the questions that I had prepared. But was there anything else in the process and development of this book that you wanted to touch on that we didn't bring up?
Well, no, I mean, I just like whoever's out there that's a fan, please know that I'm a fan too, and I tried to do right by all of us. And I just got to say, it's been one of the best professional experiences of my life. Like, I did not know what to expect when you come into a universe that's so well developed. Because I often compare Star Wars to a country that has its own military history, financial history, religious history, and it was an absolute pleasure. The team's a joy to work with. Um, I hope you enjoy what we all did together.
I truly think that the joy comes through. I remember sometimes these like tie-in books I feel like can be limited by the like, oh, there's a time gap in between these episodes and we're going to write a story here, and I just didn't feel those limitations at all. Like I said, it felt like a very natural extension of the Bad Batch, like it could have been in the series. It's like a 3 or 4 episode arc. I I just remember going through it and I kept telling my wife, like, I'm digging this so much. It's so fun to read.
Thank you.
So
Thank
yeah,
you.
and thank you for all the hard work that went into it.
Oh no, it's my pleasure. Let me tell you, when I tell you this is one of the best jobs to have, I'm not lying. This has been a blast.
Where can people follow you online? And I'll give you a chance to also plug some of your other stories that people who just finished reading Sanctuary, if they want more of your writing, what would you recommend Star Wars fans check out?
Sure, you can find me at lamargiles.com. That's my name, and that's my name on social media too. I'm mainly on Instagram and Threads. And as far as other work that you may enjoy, my dystopian novel, The Getaway, is available. We're trying to make that into a TV show right now. And I've done some graphic novel work. I have a graphic novel called Static Up All Night that I think Star Wars fans could enjoy for the fantastic team and family elements.
Well, thank you again so much for taking some time to talk with us today and 2 weeks ago. And thank you, everyone, for watching and hanging out with us. Go read Sanctuary. It's out right now. And may the Force be with you.